Welcome to Mindleapic, your channel for relaxing history stories that help you drift off to sleep. If you're new here, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below letting me know where you're watching from and what time it is for you. Now, settle in, dim the lights, and let the soft crackle of a distant fireplace accompany this tale. Tonight, we explore why the Crusades were awesome. Actually, a journey through medieval adventure, cultural wonders, and unexpected discoveries, told in a calm, soothing voice to ease you into rest. Imagine yourself in the year 1095, in a small village in France. The air is cool. The fields stretch out endlessly under a gray sky, and life moves at a slow, predictable pace. You are a simple peasant, tilling the soil from dawn until dusk, your hands calloused from years of labor, the same routine every day, planting seeds, harvesting crops, paying taxes to the local lord. There's little excitement, no grand stories to tell, just the quiet hum of survival. But one day, whispers begin to spread through the village like a gentle breeze. News from far away, from the Council of Clermont, where Pope Urban II has called for something extraordinary: a holy war to reclaim Jerusalem from the hands of those who hold it. He promises forgiveness of sins, eternal salvation in heaven, and perhaps even a chance to see the world beyond your tiny corner of Europe. For you, the peasant, this sounds like the adventure of a lifetime, a break from the monotony that has defined your existence. And so, the First Crusade begins to take shape, drawing in thousands like you, eager for change. Now, shift your mind to the perspective of a knight, lounging in a drafty castle hall. You are clad in chainmail, your sword at your side, but there's no battle to fight. No tournament to win glory in. The wars between local lords have quieted, and you're left with nothing but petty squabbles and raids on neighboring villages for entertainment. It's boring, almost suffocating, this life of idle nobility. Then the Pope's call echoes through the lands. Deus vult, God wills it, a chance to wield your sword for a higher purpose, to journey to the Holy Land, to fight infidels and secure your place in paradise. The promise of loot, land, and eternal reward stirs something deep within you. No more aimless days. Instead, a grand expedition awaits, full of peril and promise. Knights from across Europe begin to gather, sewing crosses onto their tunics, preparing their horses and arms for the long road ahead. As the movement grows, it's not just knights and peasants who heed the call. Merchants sense opportunity, priests preach sermons of divine favor, and even women and children join the throngs, though many will turn back before the true hardships begin. The Pope's words paint a picture of Jerusalem as a sacred city desecrated, a place where Christians are persecuted, where pilgrims are attacked on their way to holy sites. He speaks of the Seljuk Turks, who have conquered much of the Byzantine Empire and threaten Constantinople itself. Emperor Alexios III has appealed for help from the West, and Urban sees this as a moment to unite Christendom under one banner. The response is overwhelming. Crowds chant, "God wills it," and the air fills with a sense of destiny. For the first time in generations, Europe feels a collective purpose, a shared dream that transcends borders and social classes. But let's pause and delve deeper into the world that birthed this crusade. Europe in the 11th century is a patchwork of feudal kingdoms, where power rests in the hands of kings, dukes, and bishops. The Church is the great unifier, its influence reaching into every village and castle. Monks copy ancient texts in scriptoriums. Cathedrals rise slowly toward the heavens. and faith is as real as the bread on your table. Yet, beneath this piety, there's unrest. Overpopulation strains the land. Younger sons of nobles inherit nothing and seek fortune elsewhere, and tales of exotic lands filter back from traders who have ventured east. The Muslim world, by contrast, is vibrant and advanced. Cities like Baghdad and Cairo bustle with scholars, inventors, and merchants dealing in silks, spices, and knowledge long forgotten in the West. The Crusades, then, are not just about religion. They are a bridge between two worlds, a collision that will spark changes no one could foresee. As preparations unfold, picture the chaos in gentle strokes. Knights pawn their lands to buy weapons and horses. Peasants abandon their farms with nothing but a staff and a sack of bread. Armies form under leaders like Godfrey of Bouillon, a pious duke from Lorraine, Bohemond of Taranto, a cunning Norman prince, and Raymond of Toulouse, a wealthy count with dreams of his own kingdom. They are not a unified force, but a loose alliance, each with their own ambitions. The journey begins in waves, some taking the land route through Hungary and the Balkans, others by sea. The People's Crusade, led by Peter the Hermit, sets out first, a ragtag group of common folk inspired by fiery sermons. They march with hope in their hearts, singing hymns and waving banners, but the road is unforgiving. Hunger sets in quickly, and clashes with local populations turn violent. Many perish before even reaching Constantinople, a reminder that adventure comes at a cost. Yet, for those who press on, the rewards begin to reveal themselves. Arriving at the gates of Constantinople, the Crusaders gaze upon a city of wonders. The Hagia Sophia with its massive dome, markets overflowing with goods from across the known world, walls that seem impregnable. Emperor Alexios welcomes them warily, extracting oaths of loyalty in exchange for supplies. Here, the Westerners taste new flavors: dates, figs, and spices like cinnamon and pepper that transform simple meals into feasts. For the peasant who has known only porridge and turnips, this is a revelation, a taste of paradise on earth. The knight, accustomed to bland castle fare, finds his senses awakened, his worldview expanded. The Byzantines, with their sophisticated culture, view the Crusaders as barbarians, but the exchange plants seeds of curiosity. Crossing into Asia Minor, the real trials begin. The Seljuk Turks ambush the armies at every turn, their horse archers swift and deadly. Battles rage under scorching suns, with rivers running red and fields littered with the fallen. At the siege of Nicaea in 1097, the Crusaders lay siege to the city, their catapults hurling stones day and night. The Turks surrender, but to the Byzantines, not the Westerners, a first taste of betrayal and rivalry. Undeterred, the crusade pushes south, through mountains and deserts, facing starvation and disease. Many fall to dysentery or heat stroke, their bodies left by the wayside. But in these hardships, bonds form. Knights and peasants share what little they have. Priests offer last rites, and stories of home keep spirits alive. Then comes the Battle of Dorylaeum, a pivotal clash where Bohemond's forces hold off a massive Turkish army. The Crusaders charge with cries of Deus vult, their heavy cavalry breaking the enemy lines. Victory brings relief and loot, tents filled with gold, horses, and provisions. For the survivors, it's a sign that God favors them, a boost to morale that carries them forward. As they approach Antioch, another great city, the siege that follows tests their resolve. Months of encirclement, with famine inside and out, reduce men to eating leather and roots. Deserters flee, but leaders like Raymond rally the troops with visions of glory. Inside Antioch's walls, intrigue unfolds. Bohemond negotiates a secret betrayal with a guard, allowing a small force to climb the walls at night. The gates open and the Crusaders pour in, reclaiming the city in a frenzy of combat. But joy is short-lived. A Turkish relief army arrives, trapping the victors inside. Now it's the Crusaders who starve, reduced to boiling old shoes for soup. In desperation, a peasant named Peter Bartholomew claims a vision of the Holy Lance, the spear that pierced Christ's side. They dig in the cathedral and find it, or something like it, igniting faith anew. With this relic, they sally forth and rout the Turks, securing Antioch as a Crusader stronghold. From here, the path to Jerusalem opens. The army, thinned but determined, marches south along the coast, capturing towns and forging alliances with local Christians. Fatigue weighs heavy, but the promise of the Holy City pulls them on. In June 1099, they behold Jerusalem's walls, golden in the sunlight, a sight that brings tears to weathered eyes. The siege begins. Towers built from scavenged wood, assaults repelled with boiling oil and arrows. Finally, on July 15th, Godfrey's men breach the walls. The city falls, and what follows is a mix of triumph and tragedy. Pilgrims give thanks at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, but the streets run with blood as the conquerors claim their prize. In this moment, the First Crusade achieves its goal. Jerusalem is in Christian hands. New kingdoms are established. The Kingdom of Jerusalem, the County of Edessa, the Principality of Antioch, the County of Tripoli. Godfrey becomes the first ruler, though he humbly takes the title Advocate of the Holy Sepulchre. For the knight, it's a new life of governance and defense. For the peasant, perhaps a plot of land or treasures to take home. But the awesome part? The Crusades have opened doors to the East, bringing back knowledge of medicine, mathematics, and architecture. Arabic numerals replace Roman ones. Windmills and compasses appear in Europe. Spices flavor food and sugar. Oh, sweet sugar becomes a luxury that changes diets forever. As you listen, let your eyelids grow heavy, your breathing slow. The story continues, but for now, rest in the knowledge that these events, born of faith and ambition, reshaped the world. The Crusades weren't just wars. They were catalysts for exchange, adventure, and growth. Venice grows rich, ferrying crusaders. Trade routes flourish, and ideas flow like rivers. Knights return as heroes, peasants as worldly men, sharing tales by firesides much like this one. Sleep now and dream of distant lands. But wait, there's more to uncover. The Second Crusade looms, called in response to the fall of Edessa in 1144. King Louis of France and Emperor. Conrad III of Germany lead armies, but disunity plagues them. They arrive weakened, fail to recapture key sites, and return in defeat. Yet, even in failure, lessons are learned, alliances tested. The awesome resilience of the Crusader states shines through, holding on against odds. Saladin emerges as a formidable foe, uniting Muslim forces under his banner. Charismatic and strategic, he recaptures Jerusalem in 1187, after the Battle of Hattin, where Guy of Lusignan's army is decimated by thirst and tactics. The news shocks Europe, prompting the Third Crusade. Richard the Lionheart, Philip II of France, and Frederick Barbarossa set out. Barbarossa drowns en route, but Richard presses on, capturing Acre after a brutal siege. His clashes with Saladin become legendary. Duels of wit and sword, with mutual respect growing between them. Though Jerusalem eludes him, a truce allows pilgrim access, a small victory in the grand scheme. The Fourth Crusade veers off course, diverted by Venetian interests to sack Constantinople in 1204. The Byzantine Empire fractures. A Latin empire rises briefly, but the act sows seeds of division between East and West. Awesome in its irony, this crusade enriches Europe with Byzantine treasures, art, relics, knowledge that fuel the Renaissance. Subsequent crusades fade in glory. The fifth targets Egypt, capturing Damietta but failing at Cairo. The sixth sees Frederick II negotiate, Jerusalem's return without a fight, a diplomatic triumph. Louis IX's seventh and eighth end in capture and death, marking the decline. By 1291, Acre falls, the last Crusader outpost gone. Yet the legacy endures. Gothic cathedrals rise, inspired by Eastern arches. Universities bloom with translated texts from Aristotle to Avicenna. Trade booms, banking evolves, maps improve. The Crusades, awesome in their scope, bridge civilizations, sparking curiosity that leads to exploration and discovery. As the fire crackles softly, let these echoes of history lull you. The knight's charges, the peasant's wonder, the clash of cultures, all part of a tapestry that shaped our world. Rest now, for the story whispers on in your dreams, continuing the narrative to ensure depth and length. Let's explore the daily life during the Crusades in more detail. For the peasant turned crusader, the journey meant leaving behind the familiar rhythm of seasons. No more waking to the crow of roosters or the toll of church bells. Instead, the endless march under sun or rain, feet blistered from ill-fitting shoes. Camps at night were alive with stories shared around fires, songs of home mingling with prayers. Food was scarce. Hard bread, dried meat, occasional foraged berries. Disease lurked in every stream, every crowded tent. But amid the suffering, moments of beauty. Sunrises over foreign hills, the call to prayer from distant minarets, the first sight of the Mediterranean Sea, its waves sparkling like jewels. For the night, command brought responsibility, managing supplies, disciplining troops, negotiating with allies. Armor chafed in the heat. Horses needed constant care. Battles were not glorious charges, but gritty melees. Swords clanging, arrows whistling. Wounds were treated with herbal poultices learned from local healers, a hint of the medical knowledge to come. In quiet times, they pondered the stars, so different from home, or listened to tales from Armenian Christians who joined their cause. Cultural exchanges happened subtly. Crusaders adopted Saracen bows for their accuracy, learned to use astrolabes for navigation. In markets, they bartered for silk scarves, ivory carvings, glassware finer than any in Europe. Sugar, that white gold, was first tasted in syrups or candies, addictive and exotic. Spices like nutmeg and cloves masked spoiled meat, adding flavor to life. Paper, cheaper than parchment, allowed more letters home, spreading news faster. Venice's role was pivotal. Doges, like Enrico Dandolo, saw profit in transport, charging high fees for ships. Crusaders became unwitting merchants, carrying goods back. This trade network linked east and west, bringing wealth that built palaces and funded art. Religiously, the Crusades deepened faith. Relics like the True Cross inspired devotion. Pilgrimages increased. Orders like the Knights Templar and Hospitaller formed, providing banking and hospitals. innovations that lasted centuries. Socially, women played roles too, managing estates in absence, some even joining as camp followers or in disguise. Queens like Eleanor of Aquitaine accompanied husbands, influencing decisions. Economically, the need for funds led to taxation reforms, centralizing power in kings. Feudalism shifted, as returning crusaders brought new ideas of governance. Intellectually, contact with Islamic scholars revived Greek classics. Translations in Toledo and Sicily flowed to Paris and Oxford, fueling scholasticism. Militarily, tactics evolved. Siege engines improved, fortifications advanced. Castles like Crac des Chevaliers became marvels of engineering. In essence, the Crusades were a grand, if flawed, experiment in unity and exploration. They failed to hold the Holy Land but succeeded in transforming Europe from a backwater to a hub of progress. Now, as the night deepens, let your mind wander these ancient paths. The soft voice fades, leaving only the gentle rhythm of history to carry you to sleep. As the fire's embers glow softly, we continue our journey through the Crusades, picking up where the first crusade left off. Jerusalem is now in Christian hands, its golden walls a beacon for pilgrims. But the victory is fragile. The year is 1099, and the newly formed Crusader states, Jerusalem, Antioch, Edessa, and Tripoli, stand like islands in a turbulent sea. The Muslim world, stunned but not broken, begins to regroup, while the Crusaders, far from home, face the challenge of holding their gains. Tonight, we delve into the lives of those who stayed, the struggles they faced, and the unexpected ways the Crusades reshaped the medieval world, all in a soothing voice to guide you toward rest. Picture a knight standing atop the battlements of Jerusalem's citadel. The air is dry, the sun relentless, and the city hums with a mix of triumph and tension. Below, pilgrims pray at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, their voices rising in hymns of gratitude. Merchants hawk wares in narrow streets, olives, flatbreads, and strange fruits from distant orchards. The knight, perhaps once a landless noble from Normandy, now governs a fief in this holy land. His chainmail is heavy, his beard streaked with dust, but there's a sense of purpose in his eyes. This is no longer just a war, it's a new life. He oversees taxes, settles disputes between locals and newcomers, and trains his men to patrol the roads against bandits. Yet, every night, he wonders if the next dawn will bring a Saracen army to challenge this fragile kingdom. Now, shift to the perspective of a peasant who chose to stay rather than return to Europe. You've traded your muddy fields in France for a small plot near Acre, a coastal city buzzing with trade. The soil here is different, sandy, stubborn, but the promise of freedom from feudal lords keeps you going. You plant barley and figs, learning from local farmers who speak a tongue you barely understand. Their methods are strange but effective. Irrigation channels that coax water from scarce streams, crop rotations that make the land yield more. At night, you sit under unfamiliar stars, sharing stories with Armenian Christians and Syrian traders. They tell you of cities like Damascus, where palaces gleam with mosaics, and libraries hold books of wisdom your village priest could never imagine. Slowly, you begin to see this land not as a battlefield, but as a home. The Crusader states are a melting pot, a place where cultures blend in ways no one expected. In Antioch, a Norman lord marries a local Christian woman, their children raised with a mix of Latin prayers and Eastern customs. In markets, Frankish coins mingle with dinars, and scribes pen charters in Latin, Arabic, and Greek. The Crusaders adopt local clothing, light tunics to beat the heat, turbans to shield from the sun. They taste new dishes. Lamb spiced with cumin, sweetened with honey, served with rice instead of bread. These exchanges are small but profound, softening the edges of conflict. A knight learns to play chess, a game brought from Persia, its strategies mirroring the sieges he fights. A monk copies an Arabic medical text, marveling at its precision. These moments of connection, born amid war, plant seeds for a richer world. But peace is fleeting. The Muslim rulers, fragmented during the First Crusade, begin to unite. In Aleppo, Zengi, a fierce Turkish governor, rises to power, his eyes set on Edessa. By 1144, his forces strike, capturing the city in a devastating blow. The fall of Edessa sends shockwaves to Europe, shattering the illusion of invincibility. Pope Eugenius III calls for a second crusade, and soon, two kings, Louis VII of France and Conrad III of Germany, take up the cross. Imagine their armies marching, banners fluttering in the wind, a sea of crosses glinting under the sun. Unlike the ragtag First Crusade, this is a royal expedition, backed by wealth and prestige. Yet it's plagued by disunity. Louis and Conrad bicker over strategy, their troops weakened by the long journey across Asia Minor. Turkish archers harass them relentlessly, picking off stragglers in ambushes that leave the roads littered with bodies. The Second Crusade falters before it truly begins. At Damascus, the Crusaders lay siege but fail to coordinate. Supplies dwindle, morale collapses, and the city holds firm. By 1149, both kings return home in disgrace, their armies diminished, their dreams of glory unfulfilled. But even in failure, the crusade leaves its mark. The survivors bring back stories of the East, tales of towering minarets, bustling souks, and warriors who fight with a grace that humbles European knights. These stories fuel curiosity, inspiring merchants to seek new routes, scholars to seek new texts. The failure stings, but it teaches Europe resilience, a lesson that will shape future campaigns. Back in the Holy Land, the Crusader states adapt. Castles rise from the desert, their stone walls thick and unyielding. Crac des Chevaliers, a fortress of the Knights Hospitaller, becomes a marvel of engineering, its concentric walls designed to withstand any siege. These strongholds are not just defenses but symbols of permanence, a sign that the Crusaders intend to stay. The Hospitallers and Templars, military orders born of the Crusades, grow in power. They protect pilgrims, guard roads, and even act as bankers, holding funds for nobles traveling east. Their red and white crosses become synonymous with trust, their preceptories a lifeline for the scattered Christian enclaves. Life in these outposts is a delicate balance. A lord in Tripoli negotiates with Muslim emirs, trading grain for safe passage of caravans. A priest in Jerusalem learns enough Arabic to preach to local Christians, blending Latin rites with Eastern hymns. Women, often overlooked in the Chronicles, play vital roles. Some manage estates while their husbands are at war. Others run hospices for the sick. A few, like Melisande, Queen of Jerusalem, wield real power, ruling with wisdom and navigating the politics of a divided court. Her reign shows that the Crusades are not just a man's story. Women shape this world too, their voices echoing in charters and chronicles. Meanwhile, the Muslim world transforms. Zengi's son, Nur ad-Din, builds on his father's victories, uniting Syria under a banner of jihad. His court in Damascus is a hub of learning, where poets and astronomers flourish alongside warriors. Nur ad-Din's piety and discipline inspire his troops, and his gaze turns south to Jerusalem. By the 1170s, his protege, Saladin, emerges as the greatest threat yet. Born a Kurd, Saladin rises through skill and charisma, uniting Egypt and Syria into a formidable empire. His manners are refined, his generosity legendary. He frees prisoners, spares civilians, and earns respect even from his enemies. To the Crusaders, he is both a foe and a figure of fascination, a warrior whose code mirrors their own ideals of chivalry. The stage is set for the Third Crusade, sparked by Saladin's recapture of Jerusalem in 1187. The Battle of Hattin is his masterstroke, luring King Guy of Lusignan's army into a waterless plain. Saladin's forces encircle them. The Crusaders, parched and exhausted, collapse under waves of arrows and cavalry charges. The true cross, a sacred relic, is captured, and Jerusalem falls soon after. The news reaches Europe like a thunderbolt. Pope Gregory VIII calls for a new crusade, and three titans answer: Richard, the Lionheart of England, Philip II of France, and Frederick Barbarossa of the Holy Roman Empire. Imagine their departure. Ports alive with ships, soldiers chanting hymns, crowds waving farewell. Barbarossa, a grizzled veteran, drowns crossing a river in Asia Minor, a tragic loss. Philip and Richard press on, but their alliance frays, torn by rivalry and pride. Richard, bold and brash, becomes the Crusade's heart. At Acre, he oversees a brutal siege, his trebuchets pounding the walls for months. The city surrenders, but negotiations falter, and thousands of prisoners are executed. A grim reminder of war's cost. Richard's battles with Saladin are the stuff of legend. Skirmishes at Arsuf, where his knights charge with disciplined fury, and nighttime raids that keep both sides on edge. They never meet in single combat, but their letters show mutual respect. Saladin sends Richard fruit and physicians when he falls ill. Richard offers terms that preserve pilgrim access to Jerusalem. The truce they sign in 1192 is no victory, but it's a compromise that saves lives. Richard sails home, his legend secured, though Jerusalem remains in Muslim hands. The Third Crusade's legacy is complex. It fails to retake the Holy City, but it strengthens the coastal Crusader states. Acre becomes a thriving port, its markets a crossroads of east and west. Italian merchants, Venetians, Genoese, Pisans grow rich, their ships carrying silk, spices, and ideas back to Europe. Glass-blowing techniques learned from Syria appear in Venice's workshops. Arabic numerals, seen in captured texts, begin to replace clunky Roman ones, easing trade and calculation. Even the concept of chivalry evolves, influenced by Saladin's honor and the courtly traditions of Damascus. As you listen, let the rhythm of this history soothe you. Picture the Mediterranean's waves lapping at Acre's walls, the call of a muezzin blending with church bells. The Crusades are not just battles, they are a dialogue between worlds. Knights return to Europe with tales of sugar and star charts, peasants with seeds of new crops. Scholars pore over translated texts, their quills scratching late into the night. Trade routes expand, linking Lisbon to Cairo, Venice to Baghdad. The world grows smaller, more connected, even as swords clash. Sleep now as the story pauses. The Fourth Crusade awaits, a tale of ambition and betrayal. But that's for another night. Let the soft hum of history carry you to rest, your mind drifting through ancient cities and starlit deserts, the embers of our story glow faintly, casting shadows of a world caught between triumph and tragedy. The Third Crusade has ended, leaving Jerusalem in Saladin's hands, but the Crusader states along the coast, Acre, Tyre, Jaffa, stand resilient, their ports bustling with trade, and their walls bristling with defenders. It's the late 12th century, and Europe buzzes with tales of Richard the Lionheart's valor and Saladin's chivalry. Yet, the dream of reclaiming the Holy City lingers, a quiet ember in the hearts of kings, knights, and peasants alike. Tonight, we drift into the Fourth Crusade and beyond, exploring its unexpected turns, the lives it touched, and the lasting ripples it sent through a connected world, all in a soothing voice to ease you into rest. Imagine yourself as a Venetian merchant in the year 1202, standing on the docks of your island city. The lagoon sparkles under a pale moon, and the air smells of salt and tar. Your ships, sleek and sturdy, are your lifeline, carrying goods from Constantinople to Alexandria. The Fourth Crusade is brewing, and you see opportunity. The Crusaders, led by nobles like Boniface of Montferrat, need transport to the Holy Land. You and your fellow merchants strike a deal. Venice will provide ships and supplies for 3,500 men, in exchange for a hefty sum, 85,000 silver marks. But there's a catch. The Crusaders arrive in fewer numbers than expected, their coffers nearly empty. Doge Enrico Dandolo, Venice's cunning leader, proposes a solution: help Venice conquer Zara, a Christian city on the Dalmatian coast, to settle the debt. You watch as the Crusaders reluctantly agree. The fleet sails, and Zara falls in 1202, its walls breached by Venetian siege engines. The act shocks Europe. Christians fighting Christians under a holy banner. Yet, for you, the merchant, it's a triumph. Zara's ports now feed Venice's wealth. The crusade takes a stranger turn. Alexios Angelos, a Byzantine prince, seeks help to restore his father to Constantinople's throne. Dandolo sees a chance to expand Venetian influence. The Crusaders, swayed by promises of gold and Byzantine support for the Holy Land, divert to Constantinople. Picture the city in 1204, its golden domes gleaming, its markets overflowing with silks, spices, and relics. The Crusaders arrive, awestruck, but tensions flare. Negotiations fail, and the city is besieged. You, the merchant, watch from your ship as flames engulf the wealthiest city in Christendom. The Crusaders and Venetians sack Constantinople, looting treasures, golden icons, marble statues, the 4 bronze horses now adorning St. Mark's Basilica. A Latin empire is established, with Baldwin of Flanders as its emperor, but the Byzantine heart is broken, its lands fractured into rival states. This Fourth Crusade, meant for Jerusalem, never reaches the Holy Land. Instead, it reshapes the East, weakening the Byzantine Empire and sowing distrust between Latin and Orthodox Christians. For you, the merchant, it's a windfall. Venetian trade routes expand, controlling key ports. But for the Crusader knight, it's a bitter pill. You swore an oath to fight for Jerusalem, yet here you are, plundering a Christian city. Some knights refuse to participate, sailing home in shame. Others stay, carving out fiefs in Greece. The loot flows west. Relics flood European churches. Manuscripts fill monasteries, and gold fuels Venice's rise as a commercial titan. The awesome irony is that this misadventure sparks the Renaissance, as Byzantine scholars flee to Italy, bringing Greek texts that ignite a cultural rebirth. Now, shift to the Holy Land, where the Crusader states endure despite the Fourth Crusade's detour. Life here is a delicate dance. A hospitalier knight in craque de chevalier patrols the countryside, his white cross stark against his black cloak. The castle, perched on a Syrian hill, is a marvel. Its walls withstand catapults. Its cisterns hold years of water. He negotiates truces with local emirs, trading wine for grain, ensuring pilgrims reach Jerusalem safely. These truces are vital. As Saladin's successors, the Ayyubids, remain powerful. In coastal cities like Acre, markets thrive. A Syrian Christian merchant sells glassware to a Frankish buyer. They're haggling a mix of Arabic and broken French. A Jewish physician treats both crusaders and locals, using remedies learned from Arabic texts. These interactions, born of necessity, weave a tapestry of coexistence. The Fifth Crusade, launched in 1217, shifts focus to Egypt, the heart of Ayyubid power. Led by John of Brienne, King of Jerusalem, and Andrew II of Hungary. The Crusaders target Damietta, a key port. Imagine a soldier in the Nile Delta, knee-deep in mud, as siege towers inch toward the city's walls. The heat is oppressive, mosquitoes swarm, and dysentery claims more lives than swords. Damietta falls in 1219, a rare victory, but the Crusaders overreach. Advancing toward Cairo, they're trapped by Nile floods and Ayyubid forces. Surrender follows, and Damietta is returned. Yet, the crusade isn't fruitless. Contact with Egypt introduces Europe to new crops like rice and sugarcane, which slowly spread to Sicily and Spain. The Sixth Crusade, led by Emperor Frederick II in 1228, is a masterclass in diplomacy. Frederick, a scholar king fluent in Arabic, negotiates with Sultan al-Kamil. No blood is spilled. Jerusalem is returned to Christian control through a 10-year treaty, along with Bethlehem and Nazareth. You're a pilgrim now, walking Jerusalem's streets, touching the stones where Christ walked. The city is peaceful, shared between Christians and Muslims under the truce. Frederick crowns himself King of Jerusalem, but his triumph is controversial. Some call him a genius, others a heretic for befriending Muslims. His treaty shows the Crusades' potential for peace, a fleeting moment of harmony. But harmony fades. The Seventh Crusade, led by Louis IX of France in 1248, targets Egypt again. Louis, devout and determined, lands at Damietta, capturing it swiftly. Yet, like before, the Nile proves treacherous. At Mansoura, the Crusaders are outmaneuvered by the Mamluks, a rising power of slave soldiers. Louis is captured, ransomed for a fortune, and returns home humbled. His Eighth Crusade in 1270 aims for Tunis but ends in disease and his death. These failures mark the Crusades' decline, as Europe's zeal wanes and resources dwindle. By 1291, the end comes. The Mamluks, led by Sultan al-Ashraf Khalil, besiege Acre. Picture a defender on the walls, arrows raining down, the sea offering no escape. The city falls, its streets a chaos of fire and steel. The last Crusader strongholds, Tyre, Sidon, Beirut, crumble soon after. The Holy Land is lost. The dream of permanent Christian kingdoms fades. Survivors flee to Cyprus, carrying tales of loss, but also of wonders seen. Yet, the Crusades' legacy endures, woven into the fabric of history. Trade flourishes. Genoese and Venetian ships dominate the Mediterranean, bringing silk, spices, and paper to Europe. Banking evolves, with Templar preceptories pioneering letters of credit. Universities in Paris and Bologna thrive, fed by Arabic translations of Aristotle and Galen. Gothic cathedrals, inspired by Eastern arches, soar skyward. Navigation improves with the compass, learned from Muslim sailors. Even food changes. Apricots, lemons, and sugar become staples, sweetening European tables. Socially, the Crusades empower women like Eleanor of Aquitaine, who managed realms and shaped policy. Knights return with broader horizons, their chivalry refined by Eastern codes of honor. Peasants, exposed to new lands, demand better lives, weakening feudal ties. Militarily, castles and siege tactics advance, influencing warfare for centuries. The awesome truth is that the Crusades, for all their flaws, connected worlds. They failed to hold Jerusalem, but succeeded in opening Europe to a wider universe. Ideas, goods, and dreams flowed like rivers, reshaping art, science, and society. As you listen, imagine a caravan crossing the desert, its camels laden with silk and stories. The Crusades are not just battles. They are a bridge between past and future. Let your eyes grow heavy now, the soft cadence of this tale lulling you. The fire's glow fades, the night deepens. Sleep, and let the echoes of crusaders, merchants, and scholars carry you to dreams of distant shores. The embers of our tale flicker gently, casting a warm glow over a world forever changed by the Crusades. The year is 1291, and the last Crusader stronghold in Acre has fallen to the Mamluks. The Holy Land, once dotted with Christian kingdoms, now lies under Muslim control, its ports and castles echoing with the fading footsteps of knights and pilgrims. Yet, the story of the Crusades is far from over. Their legacy ripples through Europe and the East, reshaping trade, culture, and ideas in ways that linger for centuries. Tonight, we explore the aftermath of the Crusades, the lives of those who carried their lessons home, and the quiet revolutions they sparked, all in a soothing voice to guide you into rest. Picture yourself as a knight returning to a small manor in France. The year is 1292, and your boots, still dusted with the sands of Outremer, tread familiar soil. The village looks smaller now, its wooden church and muddy fields, dwarfed by the memory of Jerusalem's golden walls or Acre's bustling markets. You carry a small sack of treasures, a vial of holy water from the Jordan River, a silk scarf bought in Damascus, a book of Arabic poetry you can't read but cherish for its flowing script. At night, by the fire, you share stories with wide-eyed villagers, tales of towering minarets, of battles under scorching suns, of a physician who saved your life with a potion of herbs unknown in Europe. Your words paint a world vast and vibrant, stirring dreams in those who have never left their fields. You are no longer just a knight. You are a bridge to a wider world. Now, imagine a merchant's daughter in Venice, standing by a canal as ships unload their cargo. The Crusades have ended, but the docks hum with activity. Galleys bring spices, cinnamon, cloves, saffron, that fill the air with exotic scents. You help your father tally the goods. Bolts of silk from Antioch, glassware from Tyre, a strange new fruit called an orange. The Crusades opened these trade routes, and Venice has grown fat on their wealth. Your family's palazzo, adorned with mosaics inspired by Byzantine churches, is a testament to this prosperity. You overhear sailors speak of new tools, a compass for navigating stormy seas, a quadrant for reading stars, learned from Muslim traders. These innovations, born of the Crusades' exchanges, make your city a hub of commerce, its influence stretching from London to Cairo. The Crusades' end does not mean the end of their impact. In Europe, the Church remains a towering force, its coffers swelled by crusade taxes and pilgrim offerings. Cathedrals rise higher, their pointed arches and ribbed vaults, inspired by Islamic architecture seen in the East. In Chartres, masons carve intricate windows, their glass glowing like the jeweled lamps of Damascus mosques. Monks in monasteries pore over translated texts. Aristotle, Euclid, Avicenna, brought by scholars fleeing the sack of Constantinople, or traded in Toledo's markets. These works fuel a quiet intellectual awakening, as universities in Paris, Oxford, and Bologna debate philosophy and science with a rigor unseen for centuries. The Crusades, though born of war, have seeded a hunger for knowledge. Consider the life of a peasant in England, tilling the same fields your ancestors did. The Crusades seem distant, but their echoes reach you. The lord of your manor, a returned crusader, plants apricot trees brought from Syria, their fruit a sweet marvel. The village priest, trained in a school shaped by new learning, speaks of the world beyond the horizon. Taxes from the Crusades have centralized the king's power, loosening the grip of local barons. You hear whispers of rebellion, of peasants demanding fewer tithes, inspired by tales of freedom glimpsed by those who marched east. The feudal world is shifting, its foundations cracked by the Crusades' far-reaching effects. In the East, the Muslim world adapts and thrives. The Mamluks, now rulers of Egypt and Syria, build on the unity forged by Saladin. Cairo becomes a beacon of learning, its madrasas filled with scholars studying astronomy, medicine, and law. The trade routes opened by the Crusades enrich cities like Damascus and Baghdad, where merchants sell carpets and steel blades to European buyers. A Mamluk scribe, writing by lamplight, records a treaty with Venetian traders, ensuring the flow of goods. These exchanges, born of conflict, create a web of commerce that binds East and West. The Mamluks adopt crusader tactics, building stronger fortresses, while Europe learns to forge Damascus steel, its blades sharper than any before. The military orders, Templars, and Hospitallers remain potent forces. After Acre's fall, they retreat to Cyprus, then Rhodes, their ships patrolling the Mediterranean. The Templars, with their vast wealth, act as bankers to kings, their preceptories storing gold and issuing letters of credit. A French noble deposits his fortune with them before a journey, receiving a slip of parchment that ensures funds in any city. This system, born of the Crusades' need for safe travel, lays the groundwork for modern banking. The Hospitallers, meanwhile, focus on charity, their hospitals in Rhodes, treating pilgrims and locals alike with techniques learned from Arabic. Physicians, clean bandages, herbal remedies, even primitive surgeries. Women, too, carry the Crusades' legacy. In Europe, noble women who managed estates during their husbands' absence now wield influence. A widow in Flanders oversees trade in wool and spices, her decisions shaped by letters from a brother who stayed in Outremer. In convents, nuns copy manuscripts, preserving Eastern knowledge. Some, like Hildegard of Bingen, write treatises blending Christian mysticism with ideas encountered through crusader networks. In the East, Muslim women in Damascus run weaving shops, their textiles prized by Italian merchants. These women, often invisible in chronicles, are threads in the Crusades' tapestry, their work sustaining families and economies. The Crusades also reshape warfare. European castles, once simple keeps, now mimic the concentric walls of Crac des Chevaliers, with towers and moats designed to repel sieges. A mason in Scotland, trained by a crusader, carves arrow slits that allow defenders to fire while protected. Siege engines, trebuchets, mangonels, improve, their designs refined by lessons from the East. Navies grow stronger, with Venice and Genoa building galleys based on Byzantine dromons. A sailor in Lisbon learns to use an astrolabe, plotting courses with precision once unthinkable. These advancements, born of necessity, make Europe a formidable power. Culturally, the Crusades leave a vibrant mark. Troubadours sing of Richard and Saladin, their ballads weaving chivalry with Eastern romance. A poet in Provence describes a knight's love for a Saracen princess, a tale inspired by Crusader encounters. Art shifts too. Icons in Italian churches glow with Byzantine gold, their figures elongated and serene. Even food changes. Sugar, once a luxury, appears in markets, sweetening cakes and drinks. A baker in London experiments with cinnamon, a spice now common thanks to Crusader trade. These small shifts transform daily life, making it richer, more varied. Religiously, the Crusades deepened devotion, but also sowed doubt. Pilgrimages to Jerusalem continue, though now under Mamluk protection. Relics, from slivers of the true cross to saints' bones, flood Europe, filling churches and inspiring faith. Yet the failure to hold the Holy Land sparks questions. A monk in Paris wonders why God allowed defeat, his doubts whispered in private. These seeds of skepticism, small now, will grow in later centuries, challenging the Church's authority. Economically, the Crusades birth a commercial revolution. Italian city-states dominate trade, their merchants acting as middlemen between East and West. A Genoese trader buys pepper in Alexandria, sells it in Bruges, and invests the profit in a shipyard. This cycle of wealth fuels urban growth, with cities like Florence and Milan swelling. Markets bustle with new goods. Cotton, indigo, almonds, each a legacy of Crusader contact. The Hanseatic League, a northern trade network, emerges partly from these connections, linking Baltic ports to the Mediterranean. The awesome truth of the Crusades lies in their contradictions. They began as holy wars, but became engines of exchange. Knights sought glory but found humility. Peasants sought salvation but discovered new horizons. Europe, once a backwater, emerges as a hub of trade and ideas. Its gaze turned outward. The East, resilient and adaptive, absorbs the shock of invasion and grows stronger. Both worlds, through conflict, learn to see each other not as enemies, but as partners in a shared story. As the night deepens, let these echoes soothe you. Picture a caravan winding through a desert, its lanterns swaying gently. The Crusades are gone, but their gifts, spices on your table, numbers in your ledger, arches in your church, live on. Sleep now, the soft rhythm of history, carrying you to dreams of a world remade. The fire's glow has faded to a soft pulse, its warmth wrapping you in a cocoon of calm. The Crusades, those grand and turbulent quests, have left the Holy Land behind, their final strongholds lost by 1291. Yet their echoes reverberate through time, shaping lives and lands far beyond the battlefields of Jerusalem and Acre. As we drift into this next chapter, we turn to the quieter, deeper transformations sparked by these holy wars, how they reshaped Europe's soul, its villages, and its dreams. Picture a world stirring from slumber, its horizons widened by the stories, goods, and ideas carried home by crusaders. Let this tale, told in a gentle voice, guide you toward rest. Imagine yourself as a young scribe in a monastery in Italy, the year 1300. The air smells of parchment and ink, and your quill scratches softly under the flicker of candlelight. Your abbot has just received a bundle of manuscripts, translations of ancient Greek texts brought from Toledo, where Christian, Muslim, and Jewish scholars worked side by side. These pages, filled with the wisdom of Aristotle and Ptolemy, were first preserved in Baghdad's libraries, then carried west through the Crusades' open doors. You copy a passage on astronomy, marveling at the idea that stars can guide ships across seas. This knowledge, once lost to Europe, now lights your mind like the candles around you. The Crusades, though fought with swords, have gifted you a world of ideas, a spark that will one day burn bright in the Renaissance. Now, shift to a bustling market in Bruges, a thriving town in Flanders. You're a weaver's apprentice, threading wool through a loom as merchants shout their wares nearby. The market is alive with colors and scents unfamiliar. A century ago, saffron from Persia, silk from Damascus, lemons from Egypt. These goods, brought by Italian traders whose ships sailed routes opened during the Crusades, have transformed your town. Your master, once a serf, now owns his shop, his wealth grown from selling cloth to Venetian buyers. The Crusades weakened the old feudal lords, many of whom sold lands or died in Outremer, giving men like him a chance to rise. You overhear talk of a new guild forming, a sign of growing power among craftsmen. The world feels bigger now, its possibilities endless, and you dream of one day traveling to the ports where these wonders originate. In the East, the legacy of the Crusades shapes a different story. Picture a Mamluk artisan in Cairo, shaping glass into delicate lamps under a starry sky. The Crusades, though a time of war, brought a trade that enriched his city. European merchants, once enemies, now buy his work, their silver dinars clinking in his purse. The Mamluks, having driven the Crusaders from Acre, have built a strong empire, their mosques and madrasas gleaming with confidence. Yet they too have learned from the West. Fortress designs with concentric walls, siege tactics honed in battles against knights. The artisan hears scholars in the market debating mathematics, their ideas sharpened by texts traded during the Crusades' fleeting truces. War has given way to exchange, a quiet victory for both sides. Back in Europe, the Church remains a towering presence, its influence deepened by the Crusades. In a village in England, you're a peasant attending Sunday Mass. The priest, trained in a cathedral school, speaks of relics brought from the Holy Land. A sliver of the true cross, a saint's bone, housed in a new shrine. These relics, carried by returning crusaders, draw pilgrims to your village, their coins boosting the local market. The church itself, rebuilt with pointed arches inspired by Eastern designs, feels like a piece of Jerusalem, but there's a whisper of change in the air. The priest mentions indulgences, sold to fund past crusades, and some villagers grumble about the cost. These murmurs, small now, hint at questions that will one day challenge the church's power, sowing seeds for the Reformation. The military orders, Templars, and Hospitallers continue to wield influence. On the island of Rhodes, a Hospitaller knight tends to a hospital, his order's mission shifting from war to healing. The sick, both Christian and Muslim, lie in clean beds, treated with remedies learned from Arabic physicians, herbs like myrrh, techniques for setting bones. The Templars, meanwhile, guard their wealth in Paris, their banking system a lifeline for nobles and kings. A merchant deposits gold with them, receiving a letter of credit he can redeem in Florence or Damascus. This innovation, born of the Crusades' need for safe travel, makes trade faster and cities richer. Yet, the Templars' power draws envy, a shadow that will soon bring their downfall. Women, often unsung, carry the Crusades' legacy forward. In a castle in Provence, A noblewoman manages her estate while her husband lingers in Cyprus, a crusader who never returned. She oversees trade in spices and wool, her decisions sharp from years of independence. In a convent, a nun copies a medical text by Avicenna, her work preserving knowledge that will save lives. In the East, a Muslim widow in Aleppo runs a weaving shop, her carpets sold to Genoese traders. These women, shaped by the Crusades' upheavals, are threads in a new tapestry, their roles expanding as old structures weaken. The arts flourish with Eastern echoes. In a Florentine workshop, an artist paints a Madonna, her robes shimmering with gold, inspired by Byzantine icons looted during the Fourth Crusade. His brushstrokes, learned from studying Eastern manuscripts, show depth and shadow, a step toward the realism of the Renaissance. Troubadours in France sing of Crusader heroes, their ballads blending chivalry with tales of Saracen princesses, a nod to the romantic stories heard in Outremer. These songs, sung by firelight, spread ideas of love and honor that will shape literature for centuries. Science and technology also advance. A navigator in Lisbon uses an astrolabe, a Muslim invention refined during the Crusades, to chart a course to the Canary Islands. This tool, alongside the compass, makes exploration possible, setting the stage for Columbus and Magellan. In a mill by a river, a windmill, its design borrowed from Persian, engineers grinds grain faster than ever. Even medicine evolves. A physician in Bologna, trained on Arabic texts, uses a scalpel to treat wounds with precision unknown a century ago. These advancements, small but steady, are the Crusades' quiet gifts. Economically, the world is remade. Italian cities like Florence and Venice grow into financial hubs, their banks funded by Crusade-era trade. A Venetian merchant invests in a ship carrying cotton from Egypt, his profits funding a new palazzo adorned with Eastern motifs. The Hanseatic League, linking northern ports, owes its rise to the trade networks forged by the Crusades. Goods like paper, cheaper than parchment, spread literacy, letting more people read and write. Sugar, once a luxury, sweetens diets across Europe, a daily reminder of the East. Socially, the Crusades loosen old bonds. In Germany, a serf freed from his lord's service, sold to fund a crusade, moves to a town, learning a trade. His children, no longer bound to the land, study at a new university, their minds opened by ideas from the East. Knights, too, change. A veteran in Spain, inspired by Saladin's chivalry, adopts a code of honor that values mercy over brutality, influencing the knightly ideals of the Renaissance. The awesome paradox of the Crusades is their unintended legacy. They failed to hold the Holy Land, but succeeded in opening minds. Europe, once a patchwork of isolated fiefs, now looks outward, its ships sailing to new horizons, its scholars dreaming of new truths. The East, resilient and rich, thrives in its own right, its cities humming with trade and learning. Both worlds, through conflict, found connection. As the night settles around you, let the soft rhythm of this story soothe your mind. Picture a ship gliding across the Mediterranean, its sails catching the wind, its hold filled with spices and stories. The Crusades are gone, but their light lingers in the arches of a cathedral, the numbers in a ledger, the dreams of a scribe. Sleep now, carried to rest by the gentle waves of history. The fire's faint crackle weaves through the stillness of the night, its glow a quiet companion as we journey deeper into the legacy of the Crusades. The Holy Land is no longer in Christian hands, its cities and castles reclaimed by the Mamluks by 1291. Yet, the Crusades' impact stretches far beyond their end, like ripples on a vast sea, touching distant shores and reshaping lives. Tonight, we explore how these holy wars transformed Europe's villages, cities, and minds, sparking a new era of curiosity and connection. Settle in. Let the soothing voice of this tale carry you, and drift toward rest as we uncover the quiet. Revolutions born from the clash of swords and cultures. Picture yourself as a young carpenter in a growing town in southern France, the year 1310. Your workshop smells of fresh-cut oak, and your hands are rough from shaping beams for a new guild hall. The town is alive, its streets wider than your grandfather's tales of narrow village paths. He once spoke of a time when lords ruled every inch of life, but the Crusades changed that. Many nobles never returned. Their lands sold to fund distant wars, and now merchants and craftsmen like your master hold sway. The guild hall you're building will host traders dealing in spices, pepper, nutmeg, ginger, brought through routes opened by crusaders. You carve a pattern into a beam, inspired by a sketch your master saw in a Byzantine manuscript, its curves echoing the East. The Crusades, though long past, have given you a trade, a town, a future. Now, imagine a scholar in Paris, hunched over a desk in a candle-lit room. You're studying a text by Averroes, an Islamic philosopher whose commentary on Aristotle was translated in Toledo, a city where Crusades-era exchanges flourished. The words challenge you, ideas of reason, of a universe governed by laws, not just divine will. Your teachers, trained in universities born of Crusade wealth, encourage debate, a practice rare a century ago. The Crusades brought these texts west, carried by monks and merchants who met Muslim and Jewish scholars in Outremer. As you write, you feel the world expanding, its mysteries no longer bound by dogma. This spark of inquiry, kindled by the Crusades, will light the way to the Renaissance, and you're part of it, a quiet scribe reshaping thought. In the East, the Crusades' legacy thrives in different ways. Picture a merchant in Damascus, standing in a bustling souk. The air is thick with the scent of cardamom and rosewater, and your stall displays silk woven with patterns that dazzle European buyers. The Crusades, though a time of war, opened trade routes that still pulse with life. Venetian ships dock at nearby ports, their crews eager for your goods. You've learned a few words of Italian, enough to haggle, and you've adopted a Frankish scale for weighing coins, a relic of Crusader markets. The Mamluk Sultan, ruling from Cairo, ensures peace along these routes, his power built on the unity forged against Crusaders. Your prosperity, tied to this exchange, is a testament to the Crusades' enduring bridge between worlds. The Church, still a pillar of Europe, bears the Crusades' mark. In a cathedral in Cologne, you're a stonemason, chiseling a gargoyle for a towering spire. The design, with its flowing lines, mimics arches seen by crusaders in Jerusalem's mosques. Pilgrims visit, drawn by relics, a thorn from Christ's crown, a vial of holy oil, brought back from the Holy Land. Their offerings fund this cathedral, its grandeur a legacy of Crusade-era wealth. But there's tension, too. The priest speaks of indulgences, sold to finance past crusades, and some worshippers whisper of greed. These doubts, small but growing, hint at a future where the Church's authority will be questioned, a seed planted by the Crusades' heavy costs. The military orders, Templars, and Hospitallers adapt to a new world. On roads, you're a Hospitaller serving in a hospital by the sea. Your order, once warriors, now heals pilgrims and sailors, using techniques learned from Arabic physicians. Clean water for wounds, herbs to ease fever. Your stone fortress, built with Crusade-era tactics, guards the island, its walls a match for any siege. In Paris, the Templars manage vast wealth, their banking system a lifeline for trade. A noble deposits silver, receiving a note he can redeem in Venice, a system born of the Crusades' need for safe travel. But their riches draw suspicion, and whispers of royal envy grow louder, a storm brewing for the Templars' future. Women, too, shape this legacy. In a manor in England, you're a widow overseeing fields and trade. Your husband, a crusader, died in Acre, leaving you to manage his estate. You sell wool to Genoese merchants, your profits buying sugar and spices from Eastern markets. Your independence, rare in earlier times, stems from the Crusades' upheaval. Nobles' absences gave women like you power. In a convent in Italy, a nun illustrates a manuscript, her images inspired by stories of Outremer's vibrant cities. Her work, blending Eastern and Western styles, will influence artists like Giotto, a step toward the Renaissance's vivid realism. Art and literature bloom with Crusade echoes. In a tavern in Provence, a troubadour strums a lute, singing of a knight's love for a distant maiden, a tale woven from Crusader encounters with Eastern romance. His melodies, enriched by Arabic scales heard in Outremer, captivate listeners. In Florence, an artist paints a fresco, its colors bright with pigments, indigo, vermilion, traded through Crusade ports. These works, born of cultural mingling, lay the groundwork for the Renaissance's explosion of creativity. Technology advances quietly. In a shipyard in Genoa, you're a sailor testing a new galley, its design refined by Byzantine models seen during the Crusades. The ship carries a compass, a Muslim invention, guiding you through fog and storm. On land, a miller in Holland tends a windmill, its blades spinning faster, thanks to designs brought from Persia. These tools, small but vital, make life easier and exploration bolder, paving the way for voyages to new worlds. Economically, the Crusades have remade Europe. In Venice, a banker counts profits from trade with Alexandria, his wealth funding a new school of art. The Hanseatic League, linking northern ports, thrives on routes opened by Crusade-era ships. Paper, now common, lets scribes like you record ideas cheaply, spreading knowledge. Food, too, changes. Apricots and rice appear on tables, a sweet legacy of the East. Socially, the world shifts. In a German town, a freed serf learns blacksmithing. His freedom won when his lord sold land to fund a crusade. His son studies at a university, reading texts translated from Arabic. His mind opened to new ideas. Knights, inspired by Saladin's honor, adopt a chivalry that values mercy, shaping a gentler code for warriors. The Crusades' greatest gift is connection. They failed to hold Jerusalem but linked East and West, bringing spices to markets, ideas to scholars, and dreams to peasants. Europe, once inward, now looks to the stars, its ships and mines ready for new horizons. The East, strong and vibrant, shares its wealth and wisdom, a partner in a shared story. As the fire dims, let this tale's rhythm lull you. Picture a caravan crossing a desert, its lanterns glowing softly. The Crusades are past, but their gifts, books, bridges, dreams, live on. Sleep now, carried to rest by the gentle pulse of history. The night is deep, the fire's soft glow barely a whisper against the darkness. Yet its warmth cradles you as we continue our journey through the Crusades, enduring legacy, The year is 1320, and the Holy Land is a distant memory for Europe, its Crusader strongholds lost to the Mamluks. But the echoes of those holy wars still hum through towns, monasteries, and ports, reshaping lives in ways both subtle and profound. Tonight, we wander through the transformed landscapes of Europe and the East, tracing how the Crusades' ripples sparked new ways of living, thinking, and dreaming. Let this tale, told in a gentle, soothing voice, guide you toward rest, as history's quiet currents carry you to sleep. Picture yourself as a young merchant's apprentice in Florence, standing in a crowded marketplace. The air is alive with the scent of fresh bread and exotic spices. Cloves, saffron, and a new fruit called an orange, all brought through trade routes forged by the Crusades. Your master, a wealthy trader, deals in silk from Damascus and glass from Tyre, goods that flow through Venetian ports. The Crusades, though ended, have made Florence a hub of commerce, its streets bustling with new wealth. You help unload a cart, noticing a ledger written with Arabic numerals, simpler than the Roman ones your grandfather used. This system, learned from Muslim traders during the Crusades, makes your master's calculations swift and sure. The coins you handle, stamped with Latin and Arabic script, are a testament to a world connected by war and trade, a world where you, a mere apprentice, dream of one day owning a shop. Now, imagine a monk in a quiet scriptorium in Oxford, the year's chill seeping through stone walls. You're copying a text by Avicenna, an Islamic physician whose work on medicine reached Europe through Crusade-era translations. The pages describe treatments for fever, herbs, clean water, rest, that save lives in ways your old village healer never knew. The Crusades opened doors to this knowledge, as scholars in Sicily and Spain translated Arabic texts into Latin. Your monastery, funded by pilgrimage donations sparked by Crusader relics, is a center of learning. You pause to read a passage on the stars, marveling at Ptolemy's ideas, preserved by Muslim astronomers and now shaping your own. This intellectual awakening, born of the Crusades' exchanges, stirs your soul, a quiet step toward the Renaissance's bright dawn. In the East, the Crusades' legacy thrives in vibrant cities. Picture a potter in Cairo, shaping clay under a sunlit courtyard. Your workshop hums with orders from Genoese merchants, who buy your glazed tiles for churches in Italy. The Crusades, though a time of conflict, built bridges of trade that still stand. You use a technique learned from a Byzantine artisan, met during a market opened by Crusader truces. The Mamluk Sultan, ruling with strength, ensures safe roads for caravans, his power rooted in the unity forged against Crusaders. Your tiles, adorned with geometric patterns, travel west, inspiring artists who will one day paint the Renaissance's masterpieces. The East, resilient and rich, shapes the world as much as it is shaped. In Europe, the Church's influence remains strong, but cracks are forming. You're a villager in Bavaria, kneeling in a church adorned with a relic, a splinter of the true cross, brought by a crusader. The priest speaks of salvation, but his words carry a weight of taxes paid for past crusades. The village grumbles, their faith tested by the Church's demands. The Crusades, with their indulgences and tithes, have planted seeds of doubt, whispers that will grow into the Reformation. Yet the church itself is a marvel, its pointed arches and stained glass inspired by Eastern designs seen by Crusaders. Pilgrims visit, their coins funding a new bell tower, its chimes a daily reminder of the Crusades' complex legacy. The military orders, Templars, and Hospitallers, navigate a changing world. In a fortress on Rhodes, you're a hospitaller tending a garden of medicinal herbs. Your order, once warriors of the Holy Land, now guards pilgrims and heals the sick, using knowledge gained from Arabic physicians during the Crusades. Your hospital treats sailors with salves and teas, its methods spreading to Europe's new medical schools. In France, the Templars face a darker fate. Their wealth, grown through Crusade-era banking, draws the eye of King Philip IV. You hear rumors of arrests, of charges of heresy, as the king seeks their riches. The Templars' fall, beginning in 1307, is a shadow cast by their own success, a reminder that the Crusades' gifts came with costs. Women play vital roles in this new world. In a town in Aragon, you're a merchant's wife, running a stall while your husband travels to Alexandria. The Crusades, by pulling men away, gave women like you authority over trade, households, even guilds. Your stall sells sugar, once a luxury, now common thanks to Crusade-era trade. In a convent in Siena, a nun writes a chronicle of her father's crusade, her words blending tales of Outremer with local lore. Her work, read by scholars, keeps the Crusades' stories alive, shaping the literature that will inspire Boccaccio and Dante. Art flourishes with Eastern echoes. In Venice, you're an artist mixing pigments for a church fresco. Your colors, deep blues, rich golds, come from recipes learned through Crusade trade. The figures you paint, with their flowing robes, echo Byzantine icons brought west after the Fourth Crusade's sack of Constantinople. These images, more lifelike than the stiff saints of old, hint at the Renaissance's coming realism. In a tavern, a poet recites a tale of a knight and a Saracen maiden, its verses shaped by stories crusaders told by campfires. These songs, blending East and West, weave a new cultural thread. Technology advances quietly but powerfully. In a port in Lisbon, you're a shipwright building a caravel, its lateen sails inspired by Arab dhows seen during the Crusades. These ships, nimbler than old galleys, will soon carry explorers across oceans. On a farm in England, a peasant tends a windmill, its design borrowed from Persia through Crusade contacts. The mill grinds grain faster, freeing time for markets and fairs. Medicine, too, evolves. A physician in Paris uses a translated Arabic text to treat a wound, his methods cleaner and surer than before. Economically, the Crusades have birthed a new era. In Genoa, a banker funds a fleet to trade with Damascus, his wealth building a palace adorned with Eastern motifs. The Hanseatic League, linking Baltic ports, grows from Crusade-era networks, its ships carrying furs and amber to Mediterranean markets. Paper, now widespread, makes books cheaper, letting more people read. Food changes. Lemons and rice grace tables, a daily taste of the East. Socially, the world shifts. In a French village, a freed serf opens a bakery, his freedom bought when his lord died in the Holy Land. His daughter learns to read, her mind opened by a school funded by Crusade wealth. Knights, influenced by Eastern codes of honor, practice a chivalry that values wisdom over violence, shaping a gentler ideal for the Renaissance. The Crusades' true marvel is their unintended legacy. They sought Jerusalem but found connection, linking East and West in a web of trade, ideas, and dreams. Europe, once cloistered, now sails toward new horizons. The East, strong and vibrant, shares its riches. Both worlds, through conflict, built a shared future. As the fire's last embers fade, let this story's rhythm soothe you. Picture a ship gliding under stars, its hold filled with spices and stories. The Crusades are gone, but their gifts, books, bridges, dreams, live on. Sleep now, carried to rest by the gentle flow of history. The night wraps around you like a soft blanket. The fire's faint glow casting gentle shadows as we delve deeper into the Crusades, lasting echoes. It's the early 14th century, and though the Holy Land is no longer a battlefield for Christian knights, the Crusades' impact lingers in the markets, monasteries, and minds of a changing world. The wars that began with cries of Deus Vult have left behind a web of connections, trade routes, ideas, and dreams that continue to reshape Europe and the East. Tonight, we wander through these transformations, exploring how they touched ordinary lives and set the stage for a new era. Let this tale, woven in a calm, soothing voice, guide you gently towards sleep. Imagine yourself as a young tailor in a bustling port town in northern Italy, the year 1330. Your workshop hums with the snip of scissors and the rustle of fabric. Silk from Damascus, cotton from Egypt, dyed with indigo brought through Crusade-era trade routes. The Crusades, though a fading memory, have made your town a crossroads of commerce. Wealthy merchants, their fortunes built on Eastern goods, order fine tunics embroidered with patterns. You learned from a sketch of a Saracen rug. Your needle moves deftly, each stitch a link to a world opened by crusaders. The old feudal order, where lords held all power, has weakened. Many sold their lands to fund holy wars, letting craftsmen like you thrive in growing towns. You dream of joining a guild, your future brighter because of the Crusades' unseen gifts. Now, picture a scholar in a university in Bologna, surrounded by stacks of parchment. You're reading a translated text by Al-Kindi, an Arab philosopher whose work on optics explains how light bends. This knowledge, preserved in Baghdad and brought west through Crusade contacts, arrived via scholars in Sicily who bridged Christian and Muslim worlds. Your university, funded by wealth from Crusade-era trade, is a beacon of learning. You debate with classmates, your minds sharpened by ideas of logic and reason, concepts rare before the Crusades opened doors to Eastern libraries. As you write by candlelight, you feel the stirrings of a new age, one where questions outweigh dogma, a quiet spark of the Renaissance, kindled by the Holy Wars. In the East, the Crusades' legacy flourishes in vibrant cities. Imagine a spice trader in Alexandria, standing by the docks as ships unload their cargo. The air smells of pepper and cinnamon, goods bound for Venetian galleys. The Crusades, though a time of strife, forged trade routes that now sustain your livelihood. You barter with a Genoese merchant, using a mix of Arabic and broken. Italian learned from years of dealing with Crusader ports. The Mamluk rulers, strong since their victory at Acre, protect these routes, their markets thriving on the exchange. You've adopted a Frankish abacus for tallying sales, a tool picked up during Crusade truces. The East, resilient and rich, owes its prosperity to these connections, a legacy of war turned to peace. In Europe, the Church's shadow looms large, but its foundations tremble. You're a farmer in a village near Paris, attending Mass in a church adorned with a relic, a saint's bone from Outremer. The priest speaks of salvation, but his call for donations echoes the Crusade tithes that drained your village years ago. The Crusades, with their heavy costs, have left some questioning the Church's wealth. Yet the church itself is a marvel, its rose window glowing with colors inspired by Eastern glasswork seen by Crusaders. Pilgrims pass through, their coins funding a new school where your son learns to read. These shifts, faith mixed with doubt, wealth fueling learning, are the Crusades' complex inheritance. The military orders, Templars, and Hospitallers face new challenges. In a Hospitaller outpost on Rhodes, you're a young healer mixing herbs for a sailor's fever. Your order, once warriors of the Holy Land, now runs hospitals, using remedies learned from Arabic physicians during the Crusades, mint for digestion, willow bark for pain. Your fortress, built with Crusade-era tactics, guards the sea lanes, ensuring safe passage for traders. In France, the Templars' fate darkens. Their banking system, born of the Crusades' need for secure funds, has made them rich but vulnerable. King Philip IV, eyeing their wealth, accuses them of heresy. You hear of their arrests in 1307, their preceptories seized, a stark reminder that the Crusades' wealth came with peril. Women shape this changing world. In a market in Bruges, you're a weaver selling cloth to Venetian traders. Your husband, a crusader, never returned, leaving you to run the business. The Crusades, by pulling men away, gave women like you power to trade and manage. Your cloth, dyed with Eastern pigments, fetches high prices, letting you send your daughter to a convent school. There, a nun teaches her to illustrate manuscripts, her drawings inspired by tales of Outremer's vibrant cities. These women, often absent from chronicles, are vital threads in the Crusades' legacy, their work fueling trade and art. Art and literature pulse with Eastern echoes. In Siena, you're an apprentice painter learning to mix gold leaf for an altarpiece. Your master, trained on Byzantine icons looted during the Fourth Crusade, teaches you to paint figures with depth and grace, a step toward the Renaissance's realism. In a French castle, a minstrel sings of a knight's quest, his verses blending chivalry with Eastern romance heard by crusaders. These stories, carried by returning pilgrims, shape a new literary tradition, one that will inspire Dante's vivid imagery. Technology moves forward, rooted in Crusade exchanges. In a shipyard in Venice, you're a carpenter shaping a galley's hull, its design refined by Arab dhows seen during the Crusades. The ship carries a compass, guiding sailors through stormy seas. On a farm in Spain, a peasant tends a water wheel, its mechanism borrowed from Persian engineers via Crusade contacts. These tools, compass, water wheel, windmill, make life easier, trade faster, exploration bolder. Medicine advances too. A physician in Florence uses a translated Arabic text to stitch wounds cleanly, saving lives with knowledge from the East. Economically, the Crusades have reshaped the world. In Florence, a banker invests in a fleet trading with Cairo, his profits funding a new cathedral with Eastern-style domes. The Hanseatic League, linking northern ports, thrives on Crusade-era networks, its ships carrying wool and amber to Mediterranean markets. Paper, now common, spreads literacy, letting apprentices like you keep records. Food transforms. Sugar sweetens bread. Rice fills stews. Each bite a taste of the East. Socially, change ripples outward. In a German town, a freed serf opens a tavern, his freedom won when his lord died in the Holy Land. His son studies at a university, reading Euclid's geometry, his mind opened by Crusade translations. Knights, shaped by Saladin's honor, practice a chivalry that values mercy, influencing the ideals of a new age. The Crusades' greatest gift is connection. They sought to conquer, but ended by linking worlds, East and West trading goods, ideas, dreams. Europe, once cloistered, now gazes outward, its ships sailing toward new lands, its scholars chasing new truths. The East, strong and vibrant, shares its wealth and wisdom, a partner in a shared future, as the fire's last sparks fade. Let this story's rhythm lull you. Picture a caravan under starlight, its camels laden with silk and stories. The Crusades are gone, but their gifts, books, art, horizons, live on, sleep now, carried to rest by the gentle tide of history. The night is still, the fire's embers glowing faintly, casting a soft warmth that invites you to sink deeper into rest. The Crusades, those distant wars of faith and ambition, have long faded from the Holy Land, their last strongholds lost by 1291. Yet, their legacy weaves through the fabric of a changing world, touching lives in ways both grand and quiet. It's the mid-14th century now, and the echoes of Crusaders' journeys through trade, ideas, and stories continue to reshape Europe and the East. Tonight, we explore these transformations, from bustling markets to silent scriptoriums, as the Crusades' gifts spark a new age. Let this tale, told in a gentle, soothing voice, carry you toward sleep. Imagine yourself as a young blacksmith in a thriving town in southern Germany, the year 1340. Your forge glows red, the hammer's rhythm steady as you shape a plowshare. The town bustles, its market filled with goods. Spices like cumin, fabrics like silk, brought through roads opened by the Crusades. Your master, once a serf, bought his freedom when his lord sold land to fund a crusade. Now he owns this forge, and you hope to follow his path. A merchant stops by, seeking iron tools for trade with Venice, his coins bearing Arabic script from Damascus markets. The Crusades, though past, have loosened feudal chains, letting men like you dream of independence in a world grown wider by their touch. Now, picture a scholar in a quiet library in Paris, surrounded by candlelight and the scent of old parchment. You're studying a text by Ibn Sina, an Islamic physician whose work on anatomy reached Europe through Crusade-era translations. The Crusades opened paths to this knowledge, as monks and merchants carried Arabic manuscripts from Toledo and Sicily. Your university, built on wealth from crusade taxes and pilgrim donations, hums with debate, ideas of logic, mathematics, even the stars. You trace a diagram of the human body, marveling at its precision, a far cry from the crude remedies of old. These ideas, sparked by the Crusades, are kindling for the Renaissance, and you, a humble scholar, are part of this awakening. In the East, the Crusades' legacy thrives in vibrant cities. Imagine a weaver in Baghdad, threading a loom under a shaded courtyard. Your carpets, woven with intricate patterns, are prized by Genoese traders who dock at nearby ports. The Crusades, though a time of war, forged trade routes that now sustain your craft. You use a dye recipe shared by a Byzantine artisan, met during a market opened by Crusade truces. The Mamluk rulers, strong since their triumph over Crusaders, ensure safe caravans, their wealth built on this commerce. Your work travels west, adorning churches and inspiring artists who will shape the Renaissance's vivid palette. The East, resilient and rich, owes its prosperity to these connections. In Europe, the Church remains a cornerstone, but its authority wavers. You're a villager in northern France, kneeling in a church lit by stained glass, its colors inspired by Eastern techniques seen by Crusaders. A relic, a vial of holy water from Jerusalem, draws pilgrims, their coins funding a new chapel. But the priest's call for donations echoes the heavy tithes of the Crusades, and some whisper of greed. These murmurs, born of the war's costs, hint at a future where faith will face questions. a seed for the Reformation. Yet the Church's grandeur, its arches, its relics, owes much to the Crusades, a testament to their complex legacy. The military orders, Templars, and Hospitallers navigate a shifting world. On Rhodes, you're a Hospitaller tending a hospital by the sea. Your order, once Knights of the Holy Land, now heals with remedies learned from Arabic physicians. Herbs for fever, stitches for wounds. Your fortress, built with Crusade-era tactics, guards trade routes ensuring spices and silk flow west. In France, the Templars' story ends in tragedy. Their wealth, grown through banking for Crusaders, drew King Philip IV's envy. By 1312, their order is dissolved, their leaders burned as heretics, their riches seized. The Crusades' gifts, wealth, innovation, came with shadows, a lesson in power's fragility. Women shape this new world quietly. In a market in Flanders, you're a merchant's daughter selling spices. Nutmeg, cloves, brought through Crusade routes. Your mother, widowed when your father died in Outremer, taught you to trade, a role rare before the Crusades gave women authority. Your prophets send your brother to a school where he reads translated Greek texts. In a convent in Italy, a nun paints a manuscript, her images inspired by stories of Jerusalem's golden domes. These women, often unseen in chronicles, weave the Crusades' legacy into trade, art, and learning. Art and literature bloom with Eastern echoes. In Florence, you're an apprentice sculptor carving a saint for a church. Your master, trained on Byzantine reliefs looted during the Fourth Crusade, teaches you to shape stone with depth and grace, a step toward the Renaissance's realism. In a tavern in Spain, a bard sings of a crusader's love for an Eastern maiden, his verses blending chivalry with Arab poetry heard in Outremer. These stories, carried by returning knights, inspire writers like Boccaccio, whose tales will light the Renaissance's literary fire. Technology advances, rooted in crusade exchanges. In a port in Seville, you're a sailor rigging a ship with lateen sails, inspired by Arab dhows seen during the Crusades. A compass, learned from Muslim navigators, guides your course. On a farm in England, a miller tends a water wheel, its design borrowed from Persian engineers via Crusade contacts. These tools, compass, sails, water wheel, make trade faster, life easier, and exploration possible, setting the stage for voyages to new worlds. Medicine evolves too. A physician in Bologna uses an Arabic text to treat a patient, his methods cleaner and surer than before. Economically, the Crusades have remade Europe. In Venice, a banker funds a fleet trading with Aleppo, his wealth building a palace with Eastern-style arches. The Hanseatic League, linking northern ports, thrives on Crusade-era networks, its ships carrying furs to Mediterranean markets. Paper, now widespread, makes books cheaper, spreading literacy. Food changes. Apricots grace tables, rice fills bowls, each bite a taste of the East. Socially, the world shifts. In a Dutch town, a freed serf opens a carpentry shop, his freedom won when his lord sold land for a crusade. His daughter studies at a school, reading Euclid's geometry, her mind opened by crusade translations. Knights, shaped by Eastern honor, practice a chivalry that values wisdom, influencing the ideals of a new age. The Crusades' marvel is their unintended legacy. They sought holy victory, but found connection, linking East and West in a web of trade, ideas, and dreams. Europe, once inward, now looks to the stars. The East, vibrant and strong, shares its riches. Both worlds, through conflict, built a shared future. As the fire's glow fades, Let this story's rhythm soothe you. Picture a ship gliding under moonlight, its hold filled with silk and stories. The Crusades are gone, but their gifts, books, art, horizons, live on. Sleep now, carried to rest by the gentle pulse of history. The night is deep and quiet, the fire's embers casting a faint, comforting glow that wraps you in warmth. The Crusades, those distant wars of faith and fervor, have long faded from the Holy Land, their final echoes silenced by the Mamluk victories of 1291. Yet, their legacy lingers, woven into the lives of merchants, scholars, and villagers across Europe and the East. It's the late 14th century now, and the world is stirring. Its horizons widened by the trade, ideas and dreams born of the Crusades. Tonight, we trace these quiet transformations, exploring how they reshaped daily life and set the stage for a brighter age. Let this tale, told in a soft, soothing voice, guide you gently toward sleep. Imagine yourself as a young baker in a bustling town in Flanders, the year 1370. The air smells of warm bread and cinnamon, a spice brought through trade routes opened by the Crusades. Your bakery, small but thriving, serves merchants who deal in silk and saffron from the East. The old feudal world, where lords bound every soul to the land, has cracked. Many nobles died in Outremer, or sold estates to fund their quests, letting men like your father rise as free craftsmen. You knead dough mixed with sugar, a sweet marvel once rare, but now common, thanks to Crusade-era trade. As you work, you overhear talk of a new guild hall, its design inspired by Eastern arches seen by Crusaders. The Crusades, though long past, have given you a trade, a town, a future. Now, picture a scribe in a monastery in southern Italy, your quill scratching softly under candlelight. You're copying a text by Al-Farabi, an Islamic philosopher whose work on logic reached Europe through Crusade-era translations in Toledo. The Crusades opened paths to this knowledge as monks met Muslim scholars in Outremer's markets. Your monastery, funded by pilgrimage coins, hums with learning. You pause to read a passage on music, its notes echoing scales heard in Damascus. This intellectual spark, kindled by the Crusades, lights your mind, a quiet step toward the Renaissance's dawn. You dream of a world where ideas flow freely, a world the Crusades helped create. In the East, the Crusades' legacy thrives in vibrant cities. Imagine a merchant in Damascus, standing in a souk fragrant with rosewater and cloves. Your stall sells glass beads, prized by Venetian traders who dock at coastal ports. The Crusades, though a time of conflict, forged trade routes that now sustain your family. You use a balance scale borrowed from Frankish merchants, a relic of Crusade truces. The Mamluk rulers, strong since their victory at Acre, protect these routes, their markets bustling with goods, from east and west. Your beads adorn churches in Italy, inspiring artists who will paint the Renaissance's vivid scenes. The East, resilient and rich, owes its prosperity to these connections. In Europe, the Church's power endures, but questions grow. You're a villager in England, kneeling in a church lit by a window of colored glass, its design inspired by Eastern mosques seen by Crusaders. A relic, a stone from Jerusalem's walls, draws pilgrims, their offerings funding a new school. But the priest's call for tithes echoes the heavy taxes of the Crusades, and some mutter about greed. These whispers, born of the war's costs, hint at a future where faith will face reform. Yet the Church's beauty, its arches, its relics, owes much to the Crusades. a complex gift of faith and doubt. The Hospitallers, now on Rhodes, carry the Crusades' legacy. You're a young healer in their hospital, tending a pilgrim with herbs learned from Arabic physicians. Mint for fever, honey for wounds. Your order, once warriors, now guards trade routes, its fortress built with Crusade-era tactics. The Templars, however, are gone, their order crushed by 1314 under charges of heresy, their wealth seized by a French king, their banking system, born to aid crusaders, lives on, used by merchants to fund trade across seas. The Crusades' innovations, from hospitals to banks, shape a world of growing connections. Women weave this legacy into daily life. In a market in Seville, you're a trader's wife selling spices. Pepper, ginger, brought through crusade routes. Your husband's absence, fighting in a late crusade, left you to run the stall, a role rare before the wars gave women power. Your earnings send your son to a school where he reads translated Greek texts. In a convent in France, a nun writes poetry, her verses inspired by tales of Outremer's starry nights. These women, often unseen, are vital threads in the Crusades' tapestry, fueling trade and art. Art and literature bloom with Eastern echoes. In Venice, you're an apprentice painter mixing colors for a church mural. Your master, trained on Byzantine icons from the Fourth Crusade's loot, teaches you to paint with depth, a step toward the Renaissance's realism. In a tavern in Provence, a poet sings of a knight's quest, his words blending chivalry with Eastern romance heard by crusaders. These stories, carried by pilgrims, inspire writers like Chaucer, whose tales will shape a new literary age. Technology advances quietly. In a shipyard in Genoa, you're a sailor testing a caravel, its sails inspired by Arab dhows seen during the Crusades. A compass, learned from Muslim navigators, guides your path. On a farm in Holland, a peasant tends a windmill, its design borrowed from Persia via Crusade contacts. These tools, sails, compass, windmill, make trade swift and exploration bold. Medicine evolves too. A physician in Florence uses an Arabic text to treat a patient, his methods saving lives with Eastern wisdom. Economically, the Crusades have remade the world. In Florence, a banker funds a fleet trading with Cairo, his wealth building a cathedral with Eastern-style domes. The Hanseatic League, linking northern ports, thrives on Crusade-era networks, its ships carrying wool to Mediterranean markets. Paper, now common, spreads literacy, letting bakers and tailors keep records. Food transforms. Lemons brighten dishes. Sugar sweetens cakes. Each bite a taste of the East. Socially, change ripples outward. In a German village, a freed serf opens a forge, his freedom won when his lord died in the Holy Land. His daughter studies at a school, reading Aristotle's Logic, her mind opened by Crusade translations. Knights, shaped by Saladin's honor, practice a chivalry that values mercy, influencing a gentler ideal for the Renaissance. The Crusades' marvel is their unintended legacy. They sought glory but found connection, linking East and West in trade, ideas, and dreams. Europe, once cloistered, now sails toward new horizons. The East, vibrant and strong, shares its riches. Both worlds, through conflict, built a shared future. As the fire's last glow fades, let this story's rhythm lull you. Picture a caravan crossing a desert, its lanterns swaying softly. The Crusades are gone, but their gifts, books, art, dreams, live on. Sleep now, carried to rest by the gentle tide of history. The night is calm, the fire's embers barely glowing, their soft warmth lulling you into a peaceful haze. The Crusades, those distant wars of faith and conquest, have long faded from the Holy Land, their final echoes lost with the fall of Acre in 1291. Yet, their legacy endures, woven into the lives of ordinary folk. Merchants, scholars, farmers, across Europe and the East. It's the late 14th century now, and the world is alive with the Crusades, quiet gifts, trade routes that hum with goods, ideas that spark new thought, and dreams that reach beyond horizons. Tonight, we trace these threads, exploring how they reshaped daily life and lit the path to a new age. Let this tale, told in a gentle, soothing voice, carry you toward sleep. Imagine yourself as a young cobbler in a thriving port town in southern Spain, the year 1380. Your workshop smells of leather and wax, and your hands work steadily, stitching shoes for merchants who trade with Alexandria. The Crusades, though a distant memory, have filled your town with Eastern goods. Spices like saffron, fabrics like cotton, that draw buyers from far away. Your master, once bound to a lord, gained his freedom when Crusade debts forced nobles to sell land. Now he owns this shop, and you hope to follow his path. You carve a soul with a pattern inspired by an Arab tile, seen by a crusader long ago. The Crusades have given you a craft, a town, a future, their legacy stitching your world together like the shoes you make. Now, picture a scholar in a quiet study in Florence, your desk lit by a single candle. You're reading a text by Al-Razi, an Islamic physician whose work on smallpox reached Europe through Crusade-era translations in Sicily. The Crusades opened doors to this knowledge, as monks and merchants met Muslim scholars in Outremer's markets. Your university, built on wealth from Crusade trade, buzzes with debate, ideas of science, philosophy, the stars. You sketch a diagram of the human eye, marveling at its workings, a far cry from the crude cures of old. These ideas, sparked by the Crusades, are a quiet flame lighting the way to the Renaissance. You, a humble scholar, are part of this awakening, your mind opened by a world the holy wars connected. In the East, the Crusades' legacy thrives in bustling cities. Imagine a silk merchant in Aleppo, standing in a souk fragrant with jasmine and pepper. Your stall sells fabrics that shimmer in the sun, prized by Venetian traders who dock at nearby ports. The Crusades, though a time of war, forged trade routes that now sustain your trade. You use a counting system learned from Frankish merchants, a relic of Crusade markets. The Mamluk rulers, strong since their victory over Crusaders, protect these routes, their markets alive with goods, from east and west. Your silks adorn churches in Italy, inspiring artists who will shape the Renaissance's vivid art. The East, resilient and rich, owes its wealth to these connections. In Europe, the Church's influence endures, but its grip weakens. You're a villager in northern Italy, kneeling in a church lit by a window of colored glass, its patterns inspired by Eastern mosques seen by Crusaders. A relic, a fragment of the true cross, draws pilgrims, their coins funding a new bell tower. But the priest's call for tithes echoes the heavy taxes of the Crusades, and some whisper of corruption. These doubts, born of the war's costs, hint at a future where faith will face reform. Yet the Church's beauty, its arches, its relics, owes much to the Crusades, a complex legacy of devotion and dissent. The Hospitallers carry the Crusades' legacy on roads. You're a young healer in their hospital, mixing herbs for a sailor's cough. Remedies, learned from Arabic physicians during the Crusades, like chamomile for rest, honey for sores. Your order, once knights, now guards trade routes, its fortress built with Crusade-era tactics. The Templars, however, are a fading memory. Their order destroyed by 1314, their wealth seized by a greedy king. Their banking system, born to aid crusaders, lives on, used by merchants to fund trade across seas. The Crusades' innovations, hospitals, banks, shape a world of growing connections. Women weave this legacy into daily life. In a market in Bruges, you're a trader's daughter selling spices. Ginger, cloves, brought through crusade routes. Your mother, widowed by a crusade, taught you to barter, a role rare before the wars gave women power. Your earnings send your brother to a school where he reads translated Greek texts. In a convent in France, a nun illustrates a manuscript, her images inspired by tales of Outremer's golden cities. These women, often unseen, are vital threads in the Crusades' tapestry, fueling trade and art. Art and literature pulse with Eastern echoes. In Siena, you're an apprentice painter mixing pigments for a church fresco. Your master, trained on Byzantine icons from the Fourth Crusade's loot, teaches you to paint with depth, a step toward the Renaissance's realism. In a tavern in England, a bard sings of a knight's love for a Saracen maiden, his verses blending chivalry with Eastern romance heard by crusaders. These stories, carried by pilgrims, inspire writers like Dante, whose vivid tales will light the Renaissance's literary fire. Technology advances quietly. In a shipyard in Lisbon, you're a sailor rigging a caravel, its sails inspired by Arab dhows seen during the Crusades. A compass, learned from Muslim navigators, guides your course. On a farm in France, a peasant tends a water wheel, its design borrowed from Persia via Crusade contacts. These tools, sails, compass, water wheel, make trade swift and exploration bold. Medicine evolves too. A physician in Bologna uses an Arabic text to treat a wound, his methods saving lives with Eastern wisdom. Economically, the Crusades have remade Europe. In Venice, a banker funds a fleet trading with Damascus, his wealth building a palace with Eastern-style arches. The Hanseatic League, linking northern ports, thrives on Crusade-era networks, its ships carrying furs to Mediterranean markets. Paper, now common, spreads literacy, letting cobblers and bakers keep records. Food transforms. Rice fills stews. Sugar sweetens pies. Each bite a taste of the East. Socially, change ripples outward. In a Dutch village, a freed serf opens a shop, his freedom won when his lord died in the Holy Land. His son studies at a university, reading Aristotle's logic, his mind opened by Crusade translations. Knights, shaped by Saladin's honor, practice a chivalry that values mercy, influencing a gentler ideal for the Renaissance. The Crusades' marvel is their unintended legacy. They sought Jerusalem, but found connection, linking East and West in trade, ideas, and dreams. Europe, once inward, now sails toward new worlds. The East, vibrant and strong, shares its riches. Both worlds, through conflict, built a shared future. As the fire's last sparks fade, let this story's rhythm lull you. Picture a ship gliding under starlight, its hold filled with silk and stories. The Crusades are gone, but their gifts, books, art, horizons, live on, sleep now, carried to rest by the gentle flow of history.